Mo. Here's some notes. Here's some slides. Look at this guy right here.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah, you guys all know who that is. Well, hey, you know what? Like, this is an amazing group that you guys have put together. It's so cool that you guys can come together and just share ideas with each other. And I love talking to coaches. I love talking to coaches because you guys are so driven, you're so passionate, and you're overwhelmed. Didn't expect me to say that one, did you? You thought there was going to be another one of like the driven and the passionate. Overwhelmed. Every great leader is overwhelmed at some point. And you guys are feeling it, man. You're feeling, all the last couple of years that you've been through, or you're feeling you got to get another job. You go to the final four and you try to connect and you're pressing and you're pressing, or people aren't pouring into you, but you're pouring into them. And we all feel that overwhelm. And then sometimes you feel it to the point of like, man, what am I doing? Like, why am I even coaching? I see my friends, people around me, they're making thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars. Like, why don't I just do that? That's the easier route. Why don't I just do that? Security, 9 to 5, man. Why don't I just do what everybody else does? You felt that? Yeah. But here's why you don't do what everybody else does. Because you're not everyone else. You're different. All of you on this call, you're different in a really, really good way. Trust me, God never created somebody and said, hey, you're meant to be average. None of us. None of us are created to be average. And as long as you go through this times of overwhelm, understand that friendship, this genuine connection, is your vehicle out of overwhelm. Genuine connection, friendship is your vehicle towards the life that you are meant to live, towards a life of great rhythm, towards a life of great joy. And it's just really telling that Coach Mo is on this call. He's always smiling. He's never been around him where he's not just lit up. And he knows a ton of people. He's got a ton of friends. The art of friendship. And there's two types of people. Two types. That's it. You're either transactional or you're relational. One of the two. Transactional or relational. Think about that. Let's see what this guy had to say about it. This guy, John Wooden, who everybody would say is probably the greatest coach of all time, says, be true to yourself. Help others. Make each day your masterpiece. Make friendship a fine art. Drink deeply from good books, especially the Bible. Build a shelter against a rainy day. Give thanks for your blessings and pray for guidance every day. Coming from one of the best coaches, probably the best coach of all time, and he's always with all the quotes. John Wooden, we just think, man, John Wooden just always had it together, right? He was just always at the top. Does anybody know where John Wooden started his coaching career? I'm going to put this one up as a question for anybody to answer this. Anybody know where he started it? I had
Uh,
no idea. Sounds like you guys don't either.
Chat.
Wasn't it like a high school back in Indiana or something?
Oh, yeah. Indiana State Teachers College is where he started. Nice, nice. So John Wooden, he didn't start at the top. He's not just made it, just has it. I'm sure he went through times of overwhelm as well. So there's a formula here to reach this genuine connection. Courage plus community plus caring equals genuine connection. These three C's, if you live in these three C's, you're going to automatically live in genuine connection. You're going to be the person that everybody wants to be around. You know when you've been around that person and you just walk away from them? It was actually happened to me. I remember really vividly. I was at Clemson with a friend, John Gordon, who's a good friend speaker. I think he just spoke at Clemson. Our mutual friend, Dabo Sweeney, the head football coach. If you're around that guy for 5, 10 minutes, you walk away wanting to be like that guy because he has these three characteristics for genuine connection. So we're going to dive into them here. All right, the first one, courage. Courage. This guy right here, I'm going to tell you about him real quick. I know him pretty well, related to him, uncle of mine, Nick Nurse. Courage, the courage to believe that you're going to get to the spot you want to be, that you will achieve your goals. If you want to reach the highest level where you actually visualize that you can make it there. And courage, being able to willing to take that step, to take those risks. Also, the word encouragement. Think about the word encouragement. Great coaches, great leaders are encouragers. Stuck right in the middle of that word encouragement is the word courage. It takes courage to give encouragement. It takes courage to go for your dreams. So let me tell you about Nick. So Nick comes from middle of nowhere, Iowa. He doesn't play in the NBA. He doesn't have any great backings behind him. He decides he wants to get into coaching. That's what he wants to do. So he's an assistant at South Dakota, and then he's going over and he's being a player coach in Belgium. He's in England. I went over there when I was young, and I remember him watching him. He was coaching for the Brighton Bears. Nobody even in Brighton knew they had a basketball team. He's literally taping players' ankles, popping popcorn at halftime. He is the whole organization. The gym was freezing cold. They didn't have any, half the time they didn't have any lights. But every time, every spot Nick was at, he lived in the championship mindset that he would be an NBA head coach. And I was just thinking about this the other day, which is crazy because yesterday I get about 40 text messages from people. Hey, I hear your uncle's going to be the Lakers coach. Can you give me Lakers tickets? I'm like, oh, pump the brakes here a second. But I was just thinking back to these days where Nick was coaching in all this obscurity. And him telling me he's going to be an NBA head coach. Everywhere he was, he said he'd be an NBA head coach. And he continued to do it. Same thing. He lived each moment. Nothing he did was below him. He treated everybody like they meant something, like they were important. So he had the encouragement at every level, and he had the courage. He had the courage to go for being an NBA head coach, no matter what level he's at. 27 years go by. Nobody really knows him, and he finally gets his shot at being the head coach for the Toronto Raptors, and he wins the NBA championship. And everybody's like, oh man, lightning struck in a bottle. He just, he got lucky. No, it took him 27 years to become an overnight success. 27 years. So that gives us a lot of confidence, knowing that this guy, man, he didn't have anything given to him. He wasn't somebody's son who was just given a job. He worked for it because he had courage to go for it, because he had courage to tell people he'd be an NBA head coach, because he also encouraged. Encouraged is the epitome of where the word courage is. So courage being the first thing that we want. Courage to reach out. Courage in all different ways. When you need help. Courage to ask for help. The second piece is community. And we've all heard it. We've all heard we're the sum of the 5 people that we surround ourselves with. We're the sum of this group that we're in here, right? This community that we have built. But do you have community with your coaching staff, the rest of the people around you? And what I mean by community is, yes, enjoy going to work, enjoy the journey, the grind with the people you're around. But great community is when you can love each other so much that, yes, you will always support each other, and everybody talks about their support group, but you'll also challenge each other. That's what makes the greatest community. The greatest friends, the true epitome, the art of friendship, are the people that will call you out when you need it. It's not just somebody that's telling you how good you are. I have friends in my life like the John Gords and people like that I'll surround myself with because I know that they'll challenge me. I don't want just yes men. I don't want to be the American Idol singer who goes on stage and everybody tells them they're so good, but actually they suck. No. Challenge and support. And this lady right here, Corey Close, UCLA, is a very good friend of mine. And I was consultant for UCLA back in the day. And I remember, she's really into player development, really just embraces player, one of the best I've seen at it. And I was sitting in a player development meeting, the first player development meeting. And Corey, she's a leader. Like, you can feel her presence when she's in the room. So I'm assuming, she's going to say something and the assistant coaches, they'll agree with her and just be like a normal meeting like that. And I remember right from the start, she said something and one of the assistants on staff was like, no, Corey, that's wrong. Like, that's not how we do it. That's not right. And I was like bracing for, here we go. Disagreed with the head coach. This isn't going to go well. But she was like, thanks. Yeah. Okay, let me look into that. I think you might be right. So she created a culture, this community where you could challenge and support. And those coaches, they've been with each other for so long. They have the most fun that I've seen any coaching staff have. They'll pray together. They'll go to dinners together. They just have this great community because they will challenge and support. And great friends, great leaders will do that.
Amen.
So we have courage, community, and the final piece is caring. Some of you guys might know this guy right here, this crazy man, Ed Schilling. He actually officiated my wedding, one of my closest and dearest friends. But Ed is the epitome of caring. Caring is serving. Is serving. Caring is cheering others on more than you're cheering yourself on. Is giving your time and your energy when it's not necessarily convenient for you. When you see others in your industry when they're getting jobs and you're genuinely happy for them. You're actually caring. You're pouring into them. You're not just pouring into them for a transactional, what can they do for me, but you're serving and giving your time when it might not necessarily be convenient for you. So Ed Schilling, let me tell you about Ed Schilling. I lived with Ed when I came out to Los Angeles. So I got to watch every single move that he did. He'd wake up at 5 a.m. and he had his routine. He did it every day. He'd go through the Bible. He'd highlight verses. He'd send them out in text messages to like 100 people. And he still does it to this day, every single day. He'd go into his garage. He'd do his little pull-ups and push-ups workout. Come back in. He'd make breakfast for his 2 young daughters. He'd get them ready for school. Then he'd take his oldest daughter, to kindergarten at the time, ask his wife if she needed anything before he left the house. He dropped the daughter off, and then he was at the office about 8 a.m. And that doesn't sound anything crazy. I know a lot of us have to do that. But what Ed did every single day, I had never seen it before. No matter what. And UCLA was going through a tough time. Like there were literally blimps going around campus and buses saying, fire the coaching staff. Because at UCLA, if you win, that's expected. If you lose, like watch out for your job. And I'm sure a lot of you can probably feel that way. So Ed, every single day I walked through the doors to practice and I would see Ed, he'd just be bouncing off the walls. Like he had so much positive energy. I thought he took some Red Bull and venti coffee, Starbucks extra shots. Like he just had that type of energy. And he would rebound for anybody that needed it. He'd mop the floors before and after practice. He would do anything that anybody needed and never question it, never complain. And I was like, what is this guy doing? So I had to ask him. I remember asking Ed one time after practice, I was like, Ed, how do you have this servant mentality, this type of positive energy? And he just said, David, if I'm not consistent with who I am, how can anybody trust anything that I say? If I don't show up with positivity, with joy, I might be the only positive influence these kids are going to see. And if I don't bring it, how can they ever apply it in their own life? Consistency, caring, how we show up every single day for the people around us, for our players, for our other coaches. I know it's hard. I know everybody's going through a lot. I know you're overwhelmed. I know you're stressed. But the best way to get out of your own way is to go do something for somebody else. Go rebound for someone. Go just talk to them. Care for them. I don't pour into them. Caring. True, genuine service. That's what friendship is. Ed texts me literally every other day to this day, and I know he does it to so many other people. And that art of friendship, like I challenge you guys. I do this. This is one thing that changed my life. I call it the big 3. I send a message out to 3 people every single morning, either a video message or a text message. Maybe I haven't talked to them for a while, but I'm just checking in, saying, if they just wanted to see how you're doing. I know you're doing great things. If I can help you in any way, just encouraging them, being there for them. And the responses that I've got back from that has been just sometimes literally life-changing. People say, man, I just needed this so bad. Like, you don't know what I'm going through. And it's just this, I needed this at this time. Because we don't know what people are going through. We don't know. But we have that opportunity to be the one who reaches out, the one who actually cares, the one who actually serves. So, courage. It takes courage to be a friend. It takes courage to go for the goals that you want to have. It takes courage to encourage. Community. True community. Yeah, surround yourself with the people that are positive, that are going to take you to higher heights, but also surround yourself with people that are challenging, will challenge you, and also support you in caring, giving your time, giving your energy when it's not necessarily convenient for you, serving. Those three aspects lead to the genuine connection, the friendship. And then the final conviction before we dive into some question and answer, just remember, like, ask yourself that question. If you're stressing right now, if you're pressing, if you're feeling overwhelmed, are you transactional or are you relational? Transactional, the money that you make, the wins that you get, those will never fill you. They never do. But the relationships that you build, the people that you meet along the way, that will fulfill you, give you joy, and have you living in ultimate life rhythm. There's a number. If anybody ever wants to reach out to me, you can take that number down. If you ever have any questions or want to be on some motivational text that I'll send out every Monday, that's the number right there. But thank you guys for allowing me to come on here. And if we have any questions, more than happy to take any you got.
Dave, I got a question right off the bat. The only way that we can use your number is just to text you. We can't talk to you.
Yeah, you can absolutely
What kind of friend are you?
That's a texting number. And
I'm
believe it or
challenging
not,
you.
Coach Mo, hey, that's a good challenge me. Believe it or not, I get back to that number more than I do my real phone call number. If you call me, I probably won't answer because I never have it on ring. Unless it's you, Coach Mo. I got a big picture of your face pops up every time.
So,
What are some tangible ways, David, that, like, somebody desires friends, doesn't have any friends? How can you build community if you don't have any friends?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say, honestly, like, pick the type of people that you want to be around. Like, what type? Think about the type of person that you want to be. Like, we talk about the 5 people that you surround yourself with. And in this day and age, we live in a space where you can be friends with somebody from, I mean, we got Australia, Canada, Brazil. You can be friends with anybody. I have more friends. It's funny, I have more friends that I probably haven't met in person, just through Zoom, just through podcasts, just through social media. I've got a whole list of, like, my Instagram friends. I've never met them in person, but they're great people, and I've developed a relationship with them through Instagram. So there's a lot of ways, a lot of vehicles we can do it now. But the biggest one would just be, like, even if you feel like, well, I don't have any friends, I don't know how to, like, just go, just take action, go, send out a message, send out a caring message. Because instead of playing the victim of that I won't have friends or no one's going to like me, that's not true. That's the devil telling you that. Like, you're every one of us, like I said, no one was created to be average. Not one of us were created to be average. Not one of us was created to not be in community. We were made for it. So just take action, send messages, figure out the type of people you want to be around. Hit up Coach Mo.
Hey, I had a question. So, like, I'm definitely fired up by, like, really good friendships and brotherhood. My question is, like, I love when people will challenge me on things that I say or, like, actions I have and just be like, bro, I think you're better than this. Blah, blah. Like, I love it. I think it's really healthy. It's important. It's necessary. What would you say about, like, friendships where you feel like if you challenge them on something, like maybe a characteristic they have because you genuinely care about them, like, what would you say if they get super defensive and sort of, like, seem to reject what you're challenging that person on?
Yeah. A lot of people will get in that mode. If you're going to challenge somebody who's not ready to accept it, they're most likely to put up a shield and deflect it. So you got to think about ways, like, the best approach to do that at. So if you're going to challenge a friend, do it one-on-one instead of in a group of people. Because most times if someone is called out in a group of people, they're going to feel like they're defensive and they want to put up their shield. So one-on-one, and then also do it in a way of where it's not you're coming down on them. It's just like the trick that all you coaches know. Like, if you want somebody to do something else, tell them something that they're doing really good first. Like, wow, that was such an amazing offensive rebound. That hustle was great. Ah, he's so good at that. Now on the other side of the floor, okay, let's try to cut the guy up, like same thing for your friend. Be like, man, you're like, dude, you are such a good, caring friend. Like, I love being around you. You just have, but you know what? You know how you could become even better? So instead of saying like, hey, this is what you're doing wrong, show them the opportunity of how they can become even better. Now, a lot of them too, like even when with spouses, we'll tell them something and they probably won't accept it right at then and there, but they'll hear it and they respect you. It'll sink in. And even if they reject it, they'll come back and they're like, man, thank you for that. It's a good question, man. Does that make sense? It's awesome. It's tough, man. It's tough being the friend that has to go tell somebody that. Like it's easier to just not say anything at all when you know that they actually need it. So kudos to you for being that friend to someone.
Can I interject for a second? Dave, is it okay?
Yeah.
So I got a question for the group here. Who was just selected today as by his peers to be NBA Coach of the Year 21-22, 2021-22? Who was it today?
Monty Williams.
Thank you. Who said that?
That was Shane.
Way to go, Shane.
Thank you.
So one of Monty's best coaching lines that, they've had, talk about a pivot. They were the worst. And I don't think it's happened in the history of the NBA that any team has gone 3 successive years where they've improved by 11 wins each of 3 consecutive years ever. And they just did it. And they were at the basement, the worst, and they've gone 3 years in a row. But to the point of the question that was just asked, what is it about Monty that we know, like can any of you tell what's his way of confronting guys that fall below the standard? Do you know his strategy? He tells you, Stephen Craig, do you know?
No, I'm trying to think. I know he's probably one of the most, what we read about him out here, one of the most caring, down-to-earth coaches going around and values the player.
He lets care loose. But how does he show his care? How does he show his care when it's time to confront? How does he do it? He even said it last year during they're talking about him during, how did you get here to the NBA finals? Like, no, does anybody know? I think it's an important moment just to talk about. I am not calling you out, he says. I am calling you up. And when people get that, that's a great prelude to whatever is going to be said next. Don't you think?
Yeah.
I want a friend like that will remind me, this is the why. This is the why. This is what I see in you. Yeah. So I think that's a piece of friendship at those moments of confrontation. I am not calling you out. I am calling you up. Let's go. And I'm here was David's line there. I'm here to support you. We're going up. We're going up right now. Yeah.
That's good, Coach Mo. I like that. Everybody should write that down. I'm writing that down. I'm calling you out. Calling you up.
Can I add something to that?
Yeah.
One thing that we really talk about at Salisbury is instead of holding people accountable, like we lead them to accountability. Because if I'm holding you accountable, then I'm holding you accountable to what I think you should be, versus leading them to accountability, which is I have to actually build a relationship with the person to know what they want and what they said they want. So instead of me holding you to what I think you should be, now I'm reminding you, like, this is what you said that you wanted to be. and you're not meeting the standards to be able to get there. So instead of it going from a like very conflict driven relationship with my players, I'm saying, hey, you said you wanted to be an all conference player and you're not in the gym enough to be able to do that. Or you said you wanted to be a 40% 3-point shooter and you're not making enough shots every day. So now I'm leading you to accountability to what you said you wanted to be versus me telling you what I think you should be. And so a lot of times we approach the conversation. Something that I've really been using is like, hey, can I sharpen your iron today? And if they say no, then okay, I leave it right there. And if they say, hey, yeah, coach, what's up? Then I have created a space for them to be in the listening mode instead of a defensive mode, because now they know like, hey, I'm just trying to help you grow instead of I'm sitting here trying to tear you down. So those are two things that have really helped me. This is my second year coaching, first year in college, but it's really helped me to grow my relationships with my players because they know I actually care about them. And then and I'm actually using their own goals to help motivate them. And so that's been very transformational for me in learning how to build these relationships on a deeper level than just basketball.
Wow. That's so good. Wow, learning that already only in your second year of coaching, you got that down. That is great. Leading them to accountability. Yeah, because they take ownership of it, right? If they answer the question, they take ownership of it. That's really good.
Caitlin